Ahoy, and welcome to the Powwow Pitch Indigenous Startup Program Learning Series, a program designed to connect Indigenous entrepreneurs with experts, organizations, training, tools, and resources to start and grow thriving businesses. I am your host, Sunshine Kwem-Tenasco, a Kitigan Zibi Anishinaabe entrepreneur, author, and speaker. This series is a production of Powwow Pitch and is co-presented by RBC, Shopify, Facebook, with the support of an entire ecosystem of partners committed to your success. Welcome to our learning series. Do you want to launch a global business from day one? Are you ready to sell your products or services across Turtle Island and even the world? Today's learning session is all about Indigenous pathways to global markets, presented in partnership with our friends at Export Development Canada. By the end of this session, you will know about the resources available to you to export and grow globally. You will walk away with knowing how to build a global expansion plan that works for you and your business. Today's special guest presenter is Todd Evans, who is Mi'kmaq originally from Newfoundland and is the national lead for Indigenous-led exporters at EDC. His area of expertise include economic development and international trade. Before he joined EDC in 1997, he worked with Indigenous and Northern Affairs Canada, the Economic Council of Canada, the Conference Board, and HLB. Todd will present a workshop for us, and then I'll have the chance to chat with him to dive deeper into growing global. Welcome to the Powwow Pitch Learning Series, Todd. We're thrilled to have you with us here today.
Well, thank you, Sunshine. And on behalf of EDC, my thanks to the Powwow Pitch organization. We are delighted to be working with you to help support Indigenous entrepreneurs. I'm also honored and privileged to have the opportunity to live and work on the unceded territory and homeland of the Algonquian Anishinaabe Nation. So today I want to talk a little bit about EDC, then go into some of the benefits around exporting. And the core of the presentation is going to focus on a sort of a step-by-step guide to exporting, lay out kind of a roadmap and how to build that export strategy, that export plan. And I've also provided a number of resources at the end that you can refer to later. I understand that this presentation document will be provided on the Powwow Pitch website as well. So EDC is a federal crown corporation that operates on commercial principles. It's similar to Business Development Corporation and FCC, Farm Credit Corporation, so we're a financial crown. So basically our core mandate is to help companies grow their export business and to take advantage of global opportunities beyond Canada's borders. And we believe that many of the 60,000 Indigenous companies and entrepreneurs in Canada operating across all industries and all sectors are in a good place to start growing their export business. And many Indigenous companies we know are already exporting. About 1 in 5 Indigenous companies are exporting to the United States, and about 1 in 7 are exporting to non-US markets. And this comes from some really great research that the CCAB has done. So today I hope to leave you with some advice and maybe some tips and guidance on how you can start to build your own export business. So Export Development Canada provides a range of services to support Canadian exporters, and we work with companies of all sizes. So fundamentally, our mandate is twofold. That is to increase capital and to reduce risk. And we do that through basically 4 areas. First is financing. We provide things like loan guarantees to increase access to working capital, lines of credit, operating lines. We'll work with other financial institutions to provide direct lending as well. Insurance, we have a range of products there to protect your business, basically, when you start selling outside of Canada. So we can insure your sales against any kind of non-payment from customers. So that's basically protecting your business. We can help manage exchange rate volatility, and a whole range of other products that we can provide as well. And just as important as having access to those financial solutions and insurance solutions is access to knowledge. So we provide expertise that enables our customers your businesses to make informed decisions and learn more about international markets. So we can provide insights and knowledge on market opportunities, how to build an export plan, risk reduction strategies, how to develop those partnerships around trade logistics and things like building an e-commerce platform. So a whole range of different kinds of knowledge solutions that we can provide, and we often work in tandem with our partners on that. And lastly, but just as important as those connections, so really introducing smaller and mid-sized companies into our trade ecosystem so we can connect your company to foreign buyers, introduction into supply chains, almost like a matchmaking service. And we can also introduce your company to other financial institutions if that is something that you're looking for. And we can work with, so we support small companies, large companies, mid-sized companies, basically companies of all sizes across the whole spectrum of that export journey. So we can work with all companies from the small sole proprietor just starting out to established exporters looking to expand their export business. So there's many contact points that we can have with our clients and businesses across this export journey. And we can provide the knowledge, financial solutions, and risk reduction strategies along this full spectrum of export-related activities. And we work with a wide range of partners to do that. One thing that we do at EDC, we take a kind of a partnership preferred approach to all of our work. We try to bring our capacity to complement what's already out there rather than going in and trying to do it on our own. So why export? Well, I could always say why not, but typically exporters your businesses often do better. So why would you want to go into export markets? For one thing, if you're looking to grow your business, exporting offers a very good option to do that. Canada represents less than 2% of the global market. Exporters and exporting tends to create that more sustainable and resilient business opportunity for your company and your community. Exporters typically we see higher revenue. They tend to be more innovative, use more technology, have more IP, intellectual property associated with their business, and then also that access to international markets, that more diverse customer market base reduces risk to your business. And finally, exporting companies pay higher wages and employ more skilled workers. So all of this leads to more resilient companies. Tend to stay in business longer and are better equipped to, handle the ebbs and flows and the ups and downs of the economic business cycle. So I'm going to talk a little bit now about building an export plan, maybe a few tips on ensuring your success as an exporter. So one thing we first tell a lot of our clients when we start exporting is that doing business internationally can be different. And some key differences are you may end up with a longer payment period. Contract structures might be different. There are foreign exchange risks. You may need to access working capital. And of course, just like any business relationship, it's a relationship with the buyer. And I would say that some of these key differences are there regardless of the size of your company, whether you're a small sole proprietor selling online or that company that's moved beyond that and now like doing some larger export sales. So you do need to consider some of the risks and challenges that you might be facing, that you might not be facing right now. What you need to consider when exporting is access to capital. Do you have enough cash to undertake new contracts and support the additional growth that might come with exporting? Cash flow constraints are important to think about. Again, regardless of company size, you need to worry about your cash flows. Are you getting the same payment terms internationally as you are with a domestic buyer? Have you taken into consideration shipping times and payment schedules? And what to do if the buyer pays slowly? Typically, there could be longer payment periods. And what would you do in the case that the buyer pays, but you can't get the money out of the country? It's locked up in some, maybe at their central bank or some other thing that's delaying payment. Contract structures may also be different. Sometimes when you move beyond that kind of just a simple online selling, you may not get paid upon shipping, but you might want to get paid when the goods arrive to the customer in the foreign country. So we tend to see the more structure around the contracts with clear delivery milestones and typically payment terms that can be just a little bit more complex. So it's important to understand that and be sure to review those differences very closely. So one thing, when it comes to being a successful exporter, it's all about having a good plan, a good roadmap, a process that breaks things out into sort of smaller steps that are more manageable. And the first thing we suggest to companies that are thinking about exporting or are ready to make that move into export markets, is it right for your business? In most cases, many companies think it is because they're looking for sort of that more sustainable growth, that increased growth beyond what's available in Canada. So, to see if exporting is right for your business, review your capabilities. Does it fit your overall strategy? Do you have the capacity to meet that growth? Very important as well, developing an export plan and a strategy around that. I'll talk a little bit about that in a few minutes. One of the key things as well is to really make sure you do a good job on market research. It's a very important step, since it will guide and inform the decisions you make later on, such as which markets will you target, what distribution method will you use, how will you carry out your marketing, your product and service. So your research in step 3 is very important for the decisions that you will make later on in steps 4 and 5. So the next slide, so you've landed the contract. So what comes next? So it's really important that you understand and review the paperwork, get the required documents in place. You may need export permits, review the legal considerations and regulatory requirements in your target market. There may be labeling requirements that are required. A lot of these things are needed in Canada as well, but they can be and often are a bit different when you move outside of Canada. Getting paid and getting insured is important. So again, having good documentation, ensure your customers can pay. It's very important that you do your due diligence on potential new customers and maintain records and copies of all correspondence. And of course, consider insuring your sales. And then next step, delivering the goods. This is where you want to decide on your transportation and logistics providers, and many of those will offer full international service from your base of operations to the customer in the foreign market and everything in between. They'll work with customs brokers and that kind of thing. But just understand there may be requirements around shipping and packaging regulations. Are there any duties and customs? Who are going to pay those? And of course, it's always good to have shipping insurance to protect you and protect your customer. And like any business, after sales and customer follow-up is always important. One thing we always recommend as well, particularly for some real smaller companies that don't have a lot of experience in export markets, is to maybe start out with 1, 2, or a small number of trial runs. So consider some smaller sales at first, to learn the export business, to gain that knowledge and experience and comfort, and I guess the confidence to eventually go for those larger sales. And if you kind of approach the market in that sort of cautious, measured way, it gives you the chance to also build up your brand and your reputation as a trusted supplier. And of course, one thing you will always need to consider when you start landing those contracts or you start getting those sales come in, do you need to secure financing to support new sales contracts or to scale up your business? So that's always an important consideration. You may have to purchase supplies, you might have to invest in new equipment, you might have to hire someone to design new product labeling for you. There's a whole range of things that you may have to do once those sales start coming in. And again, I need to emphasize the fact there that this is not just for larger companies. This is something that smaller companies need to consider as well. So an export plan and a financial plan as part of that export plan is very important. It's a roadmap for your growth. And once you commit to that, it kind of helps you set up for success. It gives you a structured, well thought out roadmap that's easier to manage. And it also allows you to complete your plan in phases and gives you the opportunity to reassess and make any necessary adjustments along the way. And of course, as part of that, you always want to include a detailed financial plan. A detailed financial plan will certainly provide your lenders with that confidence that you know your business and that you're prepared for any contingencies that may arise. So in building out your plan, it's a good idea to sort of take a step back and identify all the resources you need along each phase of those 10 exporting steps. And it keeps you focused on your business objectives. And of course, depending on the size of your business, and where you are selling, you may need only some of these resources. Either way, it's always best to scope out the resources you will need in advance so as not to be caught off guard later on. And again, it gives you that focus and that insight to kind of keep moving along the entire sort of executing on your entire export plan and strategy. And if you're at the point, where you're seeking additional funds to grow your business, to expand your business, a solid, thorough financial plan is critical. And this is the same for any business, whether you're selling just domestically and perhaps even more so selling into internationally into export markets. So a good financial plan, a good well thought out plan, it shows lenders that you understand the business and have planned for any contingencies. Your lenders could be, the mainstream banks, could be the AFIs, Aboriginal Financial Institutions, could be other government agencies, and it could also be people friends and family, but they'll want to see that, be reassured that you have a good solid plan in place. It's very important to maintain complete records of all your expenses, sales, and any other related information. So the basic ideal here is that good planning will help you avoid any unexpected events or disruptions to your business. And having that plan in place will help you deal with any negative consequences as well. Kind of like, having a plan A and a plan B and to keep your business moving forward. So one thing I talked a little bit about earlier was around protecting your business as you grow, and then there's a few different types of insurance out there that you can use. That one sort of common tool that many exporters use as they start to grow their business is to basically use credit insurance. And what credit insurance does, it basically covers your sales and insures your sales against non-payment. And so EDC has an accounts receivable insurance product where we will cover 90% against customer non-payment. So if for some reason you make a sale into a foreign market and that customer is unable to pay, if you've got that credit insurance behind you, then EDC will cover 90% of your losses. So again, it's a way of giving you that sleep at night comfort, knowing you are insured against loss. And this is very useful when you have new customers and new markets where there's a little familiarity or relationships already in place. And it also can give your company increased access to cash from financial institutions. So most banks and financial institutions in Canada will actually lend against your insured receivables. So it gives them the comfort knowing that if anything goes wrong with your customers, and they know you're still going to get paid at least 90%, and it gives them the comfort to extend credit. So this credit insurance is tailored to meet our clients' needs. It's a very flexible product, and it can cover sales ranging from as low as a few $1,000s. And going up from there, and really there's no upper limit. And one sort of useful thing with credit insurance as well, it offers, you can use that to offer your customer better payment terms. Knowing that you have that security behind you, maybe you can offer them a longer payment term, something to give you a competitive edge against your competitors as well. And I've provided the link there as well, where you can go and find more information on that. Of course, there's always shipping insurance as well. We definitely recommend that again, it's always good to have that additional insurance to cover things like shipping, and it protects you and it protects your customer. And one other thing as well, I don't go into a whole lot of detail here as well about protecting your business. If you're doing a lot of your business online, it's very, very important to invest in the cybersecurity and to protect your customer data. I probably don't need to go into detail on that. But it's something that it's to keep in mind there. So I'm going to end my presentation there, but before I do, I'm going to just talk very briefly about some of the resources we have available to support your export journey. We do have a wide range of free knowledge resources, everything from information on market resources and on foreign markets and foreign buyers to things like building an export plan. So I provided some of these resources here, and there's two on this page in particular that I will point out. And it's the one where you see there the EDC Enlist and EDC Company Insight. So those are very useful when you're at the stage of building your export plan or doing your market research. You can use those to sort of conduct your due diligence, credit checks on your customers, and you can also use the EDC Enlist to look for those partners that you might need to support your business. You're looking for logistics shippers, the border customs brokers, a whole range of services, the international trade lawyers that you might need. So that's some really good resources there as well. So if you have any questions or wish to know more, I would encourage you to visit our new Indigenous Business landing page and register for a free MyEDC account on our website, which will give you access to all of these resources. Some of them I'm showing here. Specifically, you can get unlimited access to our webinars, reports, how-to guides, and other trade-related information. And what a lot of clients like is you'll also be able to submit questions to our international trade advisors, our trade experts. So you can ask these advisors specific questions on things such as export regulations, specific geographic markets, and of course questions on EDC's range of financial products. One thing I will point out here is that the Canadian Border Services Agency has some really, really good guides on the required paperwork for exporting your goods. So I would definitely recommend checking out those too there. Some additional resources. And one other thing I would also recommend, you can go to EDC and register for a My EDC account. It's a free registration, and that gives you access to all of this information I was talking about. And as always, please feel free to reach out to me directly. I've provided my contact information there, and as I mentioned earlier, this presentation deck will be on the Powwow Pitch website. So always, please feel free to reach out to me. Thank you. Miigwech. Merci. Bulaliak.
Thank you so much, Todd, for sharing the resources available to Indigenous entrepreneurs to go global and how to build a global plan. So I'm going to ask you a few questions, and feel free to share as much or as little information that you have. So the first question is, why do you think it's so important for Indigenous entrepreneurs to start thinking about being global?
Well, thanks very much. First, thanks for having me here today, and thanks again for the opportunity to speak earlier and provide some of that information. So that's kind of the crux, right? Why would any company want to go global? As I noted in my presentation, Canada is less than 2% of the global market. Some estimates put us down about 1.5% of the global marketplace. So if you really are looking to grow your business in a good, sustainable way, looking for that diversity, looking for that additional security for your business, then looking for those international opportunities are it's a good way of doing that. And also the Canadian economy is highly integrated into the North American economy and highly integrated into the global economy. We expect that to continue. So those opportunities are going to stay there for a while. But from a more sort of historical perspective, we know Indigenous peoples have always been traders, and trade was a very important part of our prosperity prior to European settlement. So engaging in that international trade, it's a way of reclaiming that part of our Indigenous economy, that part of our prosperity. And again, access to that more bigger and diverse market sort of creates those sustainable business opportunities, not just for yourself, but for your community as well.
I like the way you put that. Thank you, Todd. Most powwow pitch businesses are very small. And sometimes want to keep it that way too. And many powwow vendors are sole proprietors, makers, and creative professionals. So we see a lot of crafts, right? And arts. Mm-hmm. What advice do you have for solo entrepreneurs running micro businesses on global opportunities?
Well, first thing I would say is don't be afraid to look for those global opportunities. You're never too small to make that foreign sale. And by using so the more established selling and payment platforms that are available, whether it's Shopify, Etsy, Facebook Marketplace, and there's more as well. These are credible and safe platforms to do that. Likewise, there's payment platforms out there that can be used, PayPal and Square. And many of these services offer kind of a full custom service as well, right? So it's I would definitely recommend taking advantage of that. And likewise, for when you're looking to ship your goods to that foreign customer, a lot of the shippers and logistics providers will actually provide that door-to-door service. They'll take care of managing all the customs regulations, the paperwork. It's important, though, to understand who's responsible for paying all the duties and customs. That's something you can work out with your customer beforehand. And I'll also point out as well that UPS does offer a shipping discount to certified CCA members, Canadian Council for Aboriginal Business members. So I mean, if you have your membership there, you can certainly look into that.
Awesome. Thank you for that tip. Can you share with us some examples of Indigenous-owned businesses that we may know and have grown to take advantage of global opportunities?
There's so many that have been exporting for a long time. There's so many that that you won't even recognize their names because they're just they're in businesses, they're in resource sectors. So there's a lot of Indigenous companies involved in the mining, the energy, the forestry, agriculture, the whole range of different industries that are very, very successful exporters. A lot of the big economic development corporations, as well as some of the smaller subsidiaries. There are a few companies that stand there. I think one that everybody would know is Manitoba Mucklucks. They've grown from a small company and built that brand and gone global with it. I know, we refer to them a lot, and people refer to them a lot, but there's a reason for that. On the technology and digital services, there's a couple companies that one is doing quite well, and another I think is poised to make some really good headway. It's ID Fusion. They provide a number of different kind of online web development, digital services. Another one to keep an eye out for is One Feather, based out in Vancouver Island. They, again, in the digital services space. But we're also seeing a lot of companies to start really breaking into those, a lot of the consumer, I guess you can call consumer goods, processed foods, clothing and apparel, beauty products, processed food, seafood, and there's one company. It's a Mi'kmaq company, Mary Manette Seafood, based in Prince Edward Island, and they've been having some really good success in the United States. And small company, and I think you're going to see that name grow. And so the woman who owns that company, it was her grandmother or great-grandmother, Mary Manette, a Mi'kmaq elder, and that's where the story comes from. She went around selling fish products at all the local markets and built up a really good, credible name, a really good brand, and her ancestors are continuing that tradition.
I'm totally going to follow them and learn more about that story. I like those stories.
And you can order their products online too. It's really good. They sell the good stuff sells there fast.
Right on. Thank you. So now, what are some of the biggest mistakes you see Indigenous entrepreneurs making when starting up regarding global business?
I think there's a lot of common mistakes you see across sort of Indigenous and non-Indigenous. But I think for a lot of smaller entrepreneurs, one is at the beginning, kind of overextending their business and capacity. They're unable to, they end up failing to deliver, and that could damage credibility and reputation. So it's important to maybe focus on one or two key markets at first, rather than trying to serve too many markets at once. So if you go with that focused, streamlined effort, it really can sort of lay the groundwork for the success of your export business. I think lack of market research is another one that we see, kind of lack of good planning. So as an example, you really need to understand if you're going to be selling your product or looking to sell into, let's say, France, UK, or Germany, for example. You really need to understand those local tastes and whether you need to, or how you may need to customize your product or service. Sometimes something as a sort of mistranslated label can turn consumers away. It's important to do kind of due diligence, background checks, due diligence on your customers, make sure they can pay, and also your suppliers. You want to make sure that where you're sourcing all your goods and materials, it's not coming from any disreputable companies or that supply chain may have issues. So it's also knowing your supply chain. And also say it's a lot of smaller companies, and I see this with Indigenous companies, where they try to go it alone. But I think it's important to understand that there is a lot of support services. There is a big network out there of agencies and other institutions that want you to succeed, and they will work with you. So don't overlook the available resources.
Because sometimes it can sound overwhelming, when you mention all of these things to an entrepreneur or someone just getting started, but there are people who are going to help you in this. And I think I appreciate that you say that as well. So you can find someone in all of these areas. And so finally, what's the final advice you have for Indigenous entrepreneurs about setting themselves up for global success?
I think it's having a good plan. No matter the size of your company, having kind of clear objectives and a sort of a step-by-step process to follow, it's important. Also, if going outside Canada and starting to sell in international markets, even if it's in the United States, sometimes we recommend consider a trial run. Maybe just start small and build yourself up from that, right? And from those smaller sales, you can get to understand the ins and outs of the business, understand all the rules and regulations. And that'll prepare you better for doing those larger sales that hopefully will come later on. And like any business, it's focusing on customer service. Staying in touch with your customer, following up, and that also goes with your business partners, with your lenders, with your suppliers. It's important to foster and then really manage and nurture those relationships. And then again, I just go back to the point that just remember that you are not alone. There is a large ecosystem of support services available, and if you can, try to look for a mentor or a partner. Another Indigenous company that's built that successful export business. Again, it doesn't have to be a large company, just somebody who really understands the business that will offer you that advice and guidance and mentorship to help you along your own export journey.
I couldn't agree more. Kichimigwech, thank you so much, Todd, for being with us today and sharing your knowledge about Indigenous pathways to global markets.
Thank you. Merci. Miigwech. Walalia.
Okay. A big thanks to EDC for making this session possible. Have a good day.
Thank you. You too.
Thank you for joining us for the Powwow Pitch Indigenous Startup Program Learning Series to connect Indigenous entrepreneurs with experts, organizations, training, tools, and resources to start and grow thriving businesses. Thank you to our co-presenting partners, RBC, Facebook, and Shopify. To our producers, Victoria Lennox and Cyprian Shalankevich, and to everyone who makes Powwow Pitch possible. Be sure to visit powwowpitch.org to explore how we can help support you and start your business and sign up to our newsletter. Until next time, I'm your host, Sunshine Tenasco. Miigwech.